Jessica, why does your party want to shut down the government for taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants?
It's just not what's going on. And we know that that's the case because Leader Jeffries, when he was being interviewed, said they know that it's a lie because when it was actually in the Oval Office, it came up for a sum total of 10 seconds. Mike Johnson, and to his credit, he does a ton of interviews, but everybody is pushing back on him about that, showing the actual text, which says, we're talking about people who are lawfully here. If you want to pull it out, go to the section that actually delineates.
Page 57. Yeah, I'll pass
Kaylee,
it over. That's the bill.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, no, I know. And if you go to the part below the one that's being highlighted on all the GOP accounts, you'll see that it's for people who are here lawfully protected status, domestic violence survivors, et cetera.
That's what's being exploited. That's the whole point.
Yeah, when you're an asylum seeker,
that's the whole point.
You get free health care.
You do what you want. You want to make fun of us. You want to say
no. We just want you to acknowledge what you're identifying as legitimate isn't.
The thing is, you can mock Democratic messengers all that you want, but then that just says something terrible about the Republicans because we are lapping you when it comes to this. Washington Post, 17 percentage point advantage for the Republicans as who is responsible. Marist, New York Times, Siena, Morning Consult. Should we extend the ACA subsidies? The Kaiser Family Foundation, 78% say yes, including a majority of Republicans, including a majority of MAGA Republicans. Washington Post, 71% yes. The Wall Street Journal reporting today, inside the White House, aides are discussing proposals to extend the enhanced subsidies for the Affordable Care Act health insurance plans, officials said. Republicans know that they are being blamed for it, and rightly so. They're trying to kick the can down the road. They said, well, we'll deal with it the next time. But you have to make your plan choices in November, not in December when we're going to deal with this again. So go ahead, mock the live stream. Also, check out the GOP account on YouTube. The videos regularly get like 400 or 500 views. It's kind of reminding me of 2020 when everyone who would fan out in front of the cameras would say Donald Trump won. Joe Biden wasn't really elected. And then they get in a courtroom and their tail is between their legs. And they're like, no, I don't think that. I don't think that. That's what happens. You're in the Oval Office, you act like a big boy, and you deal with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer.
Jessica,
but you get on TV and you say it's about illegals.
Jessica, check out section
It is about illegals.
It's not.
Greg, the polls also said, Jessica, I know you love the polls. The polls also said Kamala Harris would be the 47th president. That didn't quite work out.
Well, first of all, this is the kind of like the tough spot the Dems are in. If they agree with you and that you're funding illegals, they're screwed. And if they say they aren't, then they explain it with something that they are obliged to drill down further on, which is when they talk about the asylum process. We know that it's a corrupt process, and Kaylee's right. If you look at 71109, you're going to see alien Medicaid eligibility. This is a process that was gamed by illegals, okay? First of all, the live stream, I look back and I found out, do you know what has more views than their live stream? Rosie O'Donnell's colonoscopy.
No.
And it wasn't even recorded. That was 400 real person views. Look, there's no surprise nobody's watching this and why it looks bad, and it does look bad. They are humorless, they are boring, but also they don't have any credibility. This party, your party, lied to all of America about Biden's state. So how can you expect anybody to show up for your live stream after gaslighting them about the biggest political risk that was ever taken? That's like expecting people to come to your birthday party after you burn down the neighborhood, because that's what you did. You burned down the party. So I do think about shutdowns. How is it a shutdown when essential services are maintained, not unessential? I know that Kennedy agrees with me on this. It does create a question in your head. Why is the government involved in the first place in non-essential services that we are paying for? By its very definition, the government maintains stuff that you cannot do yourself. So you want to talk about essential stuff, law enforcement, military operations, air traffic control, Social Security, medical care, VA benefits. These are all not affected by the shutdown. That's why you don't hear anybody complaining. That's why it doesn't make news except on shows like this. So if that is essential, isn't that enough? The Dems have transformed the idea of government, which was an essential service, into an endless well of freebies because they don't feel the pain of paying for it. We do. We won't notice when they nickel and dime us to death. So I want to step back from the squabble, get to this essential point. How do we get here, and how do we prevent it from destroying this country? If America before Trump was a boat with a big leak in it, he came, and he sealed the boat, but it's still filled with water. So that he's in the process of extracting the water. Millions of illegals in the boat, soaking up benefits, draining resources, burdening citizens. We need to address that right away because you can't have, maybe you can have free benefits, but then you have to have a closed border.
Amen.
Right? Or you can have an open border and no free stuff. But how do the Democrats, and they can't explain this, how can a country survive when you have an open border and free stuff? No adult can reasonably answer that and say it can happen. It's a recipe for doom. If you have a free candy store next to a school, it's going to go out of business in a day. The Dems shouldn't be defiant about this. They should be grateful that the adults are back in the room, Jessica, and taking the heat that your party so cowardly avoided in your face.
Oh my God, I've had a total change of heart. Thank you so much for saving us.
I can't stop thinking about Rosie's colonoscopy. I'm trying to get that inventory.
Here, you want to see some stuff on my phone? Check this out. It looks like the Holland Tunnel.
Great download. Oh, gosh, Kennedy.